Last year I was here as a sponsor, and I was director of ANZ Innovi Start. We did 4 programs in 2 years, 33 companies. I think 5 are out of business. 5 are probably the walking wounded who should be shot. 5 are going to be slow growers. Sometimes life gets in the way, partners break up, people get cancer, but they're keeping and persevering. But we have probably 12 to 15 that we're really, really pleased and we're excited about. I'm also on the board of Startup Oz, and our report, Crossroads report, came out showing we have a real problem here in Australia in terms of technology entrepreneurs. We have a systemic problem in terms of the numbers of people that are being educated and coming out, science, engineering, technology. We also have a problem with funding. We have a lot of problems. For that reason, I have left ANZ Innovi Start and I have gone to direct a brand new center called Center for Business Growth. Because I think we have now lots of startups, but we don't have a lot of people that understand how to grow up and how to scale up. And so I'm bringing all the knowledge that I have from all my work at Kaufman, all the books and all the consulting around the world, the mentors, my friends from Kaufman who came over as mentors in our program. And I'm really, really pleased to interview Emil because he is one of our bright and shining stars. He and Philip started something that they applied called Mobility Unlimited, which is now morphed into Bluedot. So when Philip applied, he said, if you accept me, I will quit my job, drop out of college, and do nothing but work on this company until we're successful. I love that. So Philip managed to talk Emil out of his job, quit his job, moved to Adelaide, and joined the company. And so they started the company, and we brought in our first round of mentors. And our mentors came for a week at a time. I brought Janice friends over from Boulder, Colorado, and Silicon Valley, and we also had Australian mentors. And they came down for a whole week. And they met with the team, and they said, if you continue with that idea, you will fail. So let's talk about how that felt.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Shanna. So it was really interesting. It's really interesting because the original idea for us was a mobile tolling solution. So Philip had the original idea, and we were talking about it, and why, when you drive through a toll road, can't your mobile sitting in your phone just pay for it? And seemed like a simple idea and conceptually really simple, but what we found out was phenomenally hard to actually execute. And so as we were going through round after round of mentors, there was generally a lot of constructive criticism, of course, but a lot of skepticism, both in terms of the technology, us being able to deliver the location element, so understanding when a driver is going through a toll road and charging a payment for it, and you're going 100 kilometers an hour through a toll road. There was also a great deal of skepticism about business model as well. So we originally had the idea that we would develop this full mobile solution, effectively enter the toll road industry somehow, deliver it, participate, and generate the revenue. We were quite naive in thinking that 2 guys without a product or any experience in the toll road industry could actually go into this monolithic industry that's not innovative, multi-billion-dollar, capital-intensive, 30-year industry. And so we literally had one mentor say that this will cost $2 million and it won't be successful, it'll fail. And so that's very gut-wrenching. You come out of a meeting and you've left your comfortable job and, sorry, I'll keep the mic up. You've left your comfortable job that pays well and you've risked it all. And then you leave a meeting and all of a sudden it feels like, it's finished before it started. So yeah, absolutely. But we had a real sense that we still had something special there, that we were onto something and we had the ability to execute it. But it was really, took quite a lot of late nights.
Well, you guys locked yourself in a room for the weekend. We came in on Monday and they were all bleary-eyed and unshaven. All these fillers. What am I talking about? And so what went on that weekend? I mean, how did you think that through and how did you pivot? Because that happens to all companies.
Absolutely. So really, one of the core things was proving that we had something there. So we ultimately built 2 prototypes, one on Android and iOS. And we had, conceptually worked out what we were doing. We filed a patent application, initial one, and then we built these prototypes. And the end result was actually really good, really remarkably good. And so it proved that our original idea and the concept and the patent were valid. And so that allowed us to, with the help of some really good mentors, to to understand the breakthrough was that we had something bigger than toll roads, that we had cracked something in the location services space, and location matters to many industries besides toll roads. And so ultimately we pivoted, and it was a big pivot into a pure R&D and technology company that specializes in location services. So ultimately our product now is the Bluedot Point SDK, which we released globally recently, and so on both Android and iOS. And effectively, it's a bit of software that you can integrate into any app on Android or iOS, and it turns that app into a hyper-local aware app. So what that means is that we've really worked out a way to turn precise location into an opportunity to interact with the end user at exactly the time, place, and way that you as an app owner want to interact with them. And so effectively the way it works is that you'll set a precise location down to several meters. You can say then that when the end user walks or drives through, you want something to happen. You can charge them a payment, you can play a video, you can play some audio, you can interact with them however you want. And so that location is obviously very applicable to multiple industries. And so that's how we've ended up here. Yeah.
Right, so of our companies, out of the first program, I think 6 received funding. The second program, 5 had gotten some angel investing. All told, I think they've gotten maybe a little over 3 million. You guys have gotten, including your the last of the commercialization Australia grants, about $1 million. So tell us what you're doing now in terms of fundraising, and you're up to America tomorrow.
Absolutely. So we've been capital raising for 18 months now since incorporation. It's just a never-ending series of meetings and conversations, and it's good and bad and exciting. But we managed to raise $1 million, and that allowed us to set up the team, file patents, build a product and release it, and build a really extensive sales pipeline. Now now that we've launched and have that foundation, we are looking to raise $1.5 million in this round. That's really growth capital. So we want to acquire some major global customers, expand into international markets, expand our IP portfolio. And so tomorrow, yes, we're flying off to California. And so we were quite fortunate. We managed to attract the founding CFO of PayPal. And so he joined our board as CFO and board member. And so that was a huge win for us, and has opened up a huge number of doors in Australia and in the US. And so now we're about to go and speak to some of the biggest funds in the US.
And one of the mentors has turned into one of your advisors, who was a pretty high executive in Microsoft for a while. So he's helpful as well. I know he was interviewed and I were interviewed, and we independently said that if the patents, sorry which country I'm in, patents hold, we do think that Bluedot could be $1 billion company, and so we really want you to be. So the process now is getting money. We want you to stay, just like all of you. You must stay, because if you all leave and go to the States, where are the role models? Where can you then come back and invest in the next generation of companies? Who can you mentor? You must stay here, and we have to create the ecosystem where we're feeding on ourselves and helping the next generation of entrepreneurs grow and be successful. So, Emil, what's the perfect profile of an investor, and what do you and Philip see yourselves becoming over time?
So for us, we're at a stage now where we have a lot of that foundational experience. We built the foundational elements of the company. So for us, it's really scalability. So one of the things that we focused on, and I think it really attracts a lot of investors, is that we focused on global scalability. So getting the business model right, because the only way to get 10x and 20x returns is by expanding as quickly as possible. And so for us, we have a software solution that's internationally available from day one, covers the mobile market. We can go everyone from an individual app developer to the biggest corporate. And we sit as that underlying tech supplier. So we don't compete or enter these markets directly ourselves. We can go to the payments industry, the transport industry, major events, all of these, and provide that location as a trigger. And so for us now, the ideal profile of an investor is someone that's willing to put money on the table, first of all, obviously, but second, they can add that value in terms of global scalability. So how do we find those right channels in the US and in Asia? And how do we build that sales and marketing capability and really go from a really great early stage company that's working well to that next big powerhouse? So.
Any other questions?
Yeah, any quick questions from the audience? If not, we're going to move right into our next tech chat. which is going to be our last tech chat of the evening before we get into our VC Dealmaker panel. So let's give Emil and Dana a round